Yep.
Morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Wake Up Workday Morning Show. I am your host, Tony Gilfillan, and I am actually joined today by my good friend Todd Tarpley. Hi, Todd. How are you doing?
Hey, Tony, I'm doing good. How are you?
Very good. Looks voice here. Talk one more time, Todd.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm excited to be here, Tony.
Awesome. So yesterday we left off with our loop here. So essentially, we're pulling back our business object folk, and we were also playing with branch on condition versus the actual continue on condition. We determined that we're going to need to do the branch because the continue on condition was actually kicking us um, out of our loop every single time. We don't want to do that if it fails. We're going with the branch on condition. Go over to our right here. I kind of worked ahead a little bit, but we will walk backward to what we're sitting at. We have our business object, have our loop that is looping through our business object, and it is pulling back all that data from our business object. So we have a number of employees in there, or a number of customers in there with some data. Let's go ahead and look at that data. Got through it real quick. Bug on that. So we have three different customers in our database here. We have John Doe, we have Michael Scott, and we have Jim Halpert. Also have the weekly cadence and daily cadence in which we want to send our emails to these customers in. Starting 0 is Monday, and day of the week or the weekly cadence up to 5. So a current month can have up to 5 weeks, and then the daily cadence based on that 0 to 6. Monday is 0, Sunday is. We're essentially going to use a Lambda function to essentially evaluate this weekly daily cadence, give us back a true false. So our if can handle whether or not to send that particular email that day. So we have our loop going in, and we have a values essentially as a number that we're going to be sending our Lambda payload, grabbing both of those values from the current. I can read. Grabbing the email weekly cadence and the email daily cadence, and putting them in values for us to then stick into our payload that we're Lambda function. Our
I
Lambda
like that use
function.
case. It's a good use case, Tony. I like that.
Yeah,
The
I tried playing around with different things with text templates and different methods to kind of create this. If you had a date, it'd be a lot easier to work
Sure.
with using the pills. But with this funky way that I built this, having week of the month and the day of the month, I do like the customizability of it. So then every customer doesn't have to pick a specific day. Otherwise, you'd
hmm
have to essentially pick like the December 12th and then
Right.
January 12th. So you'd have to literally go through every year, select those weeks and months for customer. Like that was kind of a pain in the butt from a maintainability standpoint. So this might be a little bit heavier load on the Orchestrate side of things, but it makes it a more maintainable app. All I believe.
Hmm. Yeah, I like it.
We have our values coming back from our loop. So this is pulling that data from our Workday API requests, and it's creating that payload, picking the day of the month, nice little JSON payload for us. And then we're now invoking AWS Lambda function. That AWS Lambda function step over here, all we have to do is specify our function name and then stick our payload in from our text template. Should be able to return back a call statement. Now that we've done that, let's jump over to our IDE. We can talk a little bit about AWS and using Lambda function. So this is Cursor. We've been playing with Cursor quite a bit on this stream. It can interact with the AWS toolkit. If you guys haven't played with the AWS toolkit, all it is a very simple browser extension for Visual Code, and lo and behold, Cursor is literally just a wrapper of Visual Code. Todd, have you had much chance to play around with Cursor at all?
Not in this context, but for other things, yes, certainly Cursor. You definitely use it for some JavaScripting, those type of use cases. Not with the AWS context, though.
Pretty slick, even with AWS. You can have it build you a little SAM app as like a little hello world. Out on the forum, there's some good examples for the AWS piece of things. I know there's integration guide and hello world stuff out there as well if you want to jump into that head first. But again, the AWS toolkit is just a quick install from the extensions on Cursor. And then from there, it just sticks this AWS tab in for you. And this is not what you'll see when you first navigate this. Know how to connect. Disconnect.
Yeah.
Your tokens last, what is it, 2 hours or something like that? So I can just change the credentials, mimic it. Just deleted my credentials, connect again. Okay, so this is what you'll see if you have just installed the AWS toolkit. So you'll be able to essentially create new credentials here. If you click this workforce, this is going to try to single sign on you to the AWS, or you can create your IAM credentials. I use this way because this is how Workday pop-up accounts. So if you are a Workday Pro customer, you do get those Workday pop-up accounts for free to utilize those AWS Lambda methods. If you want to bring your own, you can do the sign on into your own instance. Same way with the IAM credentials. You have to use those credentials versus the ones provided on the dev side. Pop-up accounts for. So we are going to do. Basically, we're going to connect to AWS. So up here on the more actions, connect, and going to try to log you in based on your credentials. I delete my credentials there. You create new credentials off of either you can navigate directly to your AWS directory and just slap in a credentials file, or you can try to log in off that screen again. Basically, that single sign on, and then directly below it, that IAM credentials, that will also generate. I'm going to navigate back to my dev site here and grab myself new off of the dev site. You're down here at the very bottom, third-party integration, have this AWS. Click generate AWS token, copy this, drop it into credentials file. And this is how you create credentials as well. So if you wanted to create a secondary credential, say you have multiple roles or multiple users off of in this credential file, one that is provided is going to be that default credential for the pop-up accounts. Automatically get stuff there. But again, if you're using a different role, you can create multiple roles in this credentials file, but we're going to use pop-up account. Now that I have that in my credential file, I should already did, but connect again. I'm going to use the profile default. You saw that heat pop up. Now I can see all my files in the Lambda function. I have gateways and the cloud formations that it's going to generate for me. I also have this Lambda section. This is where my Lambda files actually live. I have already uploaded my check cadence method, which is what I create actually from Cursor, created it for me. If I jump over to my workspace, what a very, very simple SAM file looks like. It has a template.yaml to essentially tell AWS what exactly application is serverless. It's got a simple description. Two things that are very important in the YAML file for any Lambda function that is running on the Workday pop-up accounts needs to have lines from line 26 to line 32. These are, silly subnet and security group things that need to happen in the background to be able to API gateway on that side of things. Without these right here, your Lambda functions will not function on pop-up account. Definitely keep this line 26 to 32 in mind. I will also drop this hello world file into repository and but again, very important. The rest of this is essentially identifying the function itself. So I have my check cadence function. Function name is actually check cadence, so that's what I'm going to reference actually in the Lambda step in my Orchestrate piece. Code URI, this is literally just a file it sits underneath. So underneath hello world is my app.py. That handler right here, app.py, app.lambda handler. This is the within the file actually looking for. So if I app.py, my lambda handler, so this is the actual function within my app.py that it's for. And again, I didn't actually write any of this code. Cursor did all of it for me. It literally built all of this. 7 lines. All it's really that date check, but still pretty slick that it. And then once I have, I've had Cursor spin up my SAM, I've installed the toolkit, I've connected to the instance. I now have a functioning function. Now I want to deploy it out to AWS. How do we do that? So AWS, back to AWS, right click on your Lambda function. Sync SAM application is basically deploying how to deploy your application. It's going to try to find a YAML file in your workspace. The only one I have in there is that template.yaml. That one here, it's going to ask you if you want to use specified parameters or use defaults from your sam.config. Once you go through this once and you click this very top one, SAM specify required and save defaults, you can then use this one in the middle. Then it will use all those defaults that you set. You guys can see. Select a stack. This is actual. Think of this as like the container that it's built. You guys have used Docker or any of the other containerized application frameworks. This is basically that. It's creating a containerized version of your Lambda function in its own container. That cloud formation, you got to give it name. I gave my app check cadence, and we're going to specify the S3 bucket. If you click this create manage S3 bucket, it will spin up a new S3 bucket for you, but there are pre-existing S3 buckets already up for every single. Select the one that already exists. Here, there's a bunch of different checkboxes that you can add to run different things for your when it syncs with AWS server. I want to run through these real quick. Build in source. This is essentially going to rebuild your project every time it runs. Code only resources. So this is actually going to skip some of those extra files and only build the files. Dependency layer. I'm actually 100% that one does. Skip sync deploy sync. This again is going to skip the basically syncing with pre-existing code. It's going to overwrite essentially. Not going to try to overwrite. It's literally try to deploy. Use a container. Basically doing that already. Beta features. I'm not 100% sure what beta features are out there. You can probably do some poking around to see what those involve, and then debugging. This will extra debugging if you have those baked into your. We're gonna leave this kind of just as it is, and go kind of the deep. Now that I kind of click OK, now it's gonna go through the build process and let me know whether or not there's any errors or whether or not it built successfully. Now it's going to try to deploy that built account.
Okay, packaging it up. That's cool.
Now, this definitely seems overwhelming at first, but once you do it a couple times, it kind of just becomes second nature. Now, with any IDE, there's definitely a learning curve for all of it. Cursor definitely helps a lot, especially with the setup of the SAM file, setup of the YAML. Like it can find the problems. It knows. There's AWS documentation out the wazoo kind of stuff. So Cursor's pretty skilled at setting these up.
So once you get used to it, Tony, and you're kind of comfortable with navigation, what you need to do to deploy, about how long does it take you? How long do you think it took you to create this?
Well, I kind of cheated. I stole the Hello World app off of the forum.
Okay. Got a head start.
That some handsome devil put together. So you can do that, or you can also just have Cursor spin up a little Hello World app for you. So honestly, from start to finish, maybe 30 minutes from assuming you have
Yeah.
Cursor installed and running. The toolkit itself probably takes 10 to 15 seconds to install. It's again just a tiny little little extension to IDE. If you like visual code, that it works there too. Obviously, you have the agent and add quad code or whatever you want. Visual code IDE. Are you a visual code guy, or are you a cursor guy at this point?
Kind of mix. I definitely use Cursor a lot more. My ramp up to Cursor is getting more and more and more the more I build. So I guess I'm kind of starting to tilt towards the Cursor side of things.
Well, it looks like I have this skipped infrastructure sync since the exact same as the cloud template. So basically, it found
Okay.
no changes, no reason to. Nothing to. If it would have succeeded, Boyd, it would have told me that too. Basically, built properly, and there was nothing to, right, so it didn't overwrite anything.
Right.
Now I have
Still successful.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, now I have a Lambda file function living out on AWS that I can call. Now that we have that, we're down just and off of our Lambda function, we're going to then turn that response Boolean that our if statement in our loop can handle to check whether or not we're going to be sending that message. That's really all it does. After that is grabs Lambda function, converts it to string, and then so then we can reference email date day. Log of that, branching in my if, grab that create values day, then log that and or if.
So what is your input file you covered at the start of this? I think there's at least one person's going to be getting an email. I remember there's three in there. I know one's a yes, one's a no. What was the third person?
I think
What's our expected results?
there's 3 folk in. I think only one matchup.
Okay.
Second Friday.
Okay. Second one is
One is
Wednesday.
also Albert.
Friday. Okay.
The Lambda function is checking 0 to 6, 0 being Monday, Sunday being run this now that we've deployed it. Check our run log. Message. And I always find myself using these built-in logs now. I hardly ever navigate logs in tenant. Use the Elasticsearch ones out dev site anymore, Todd, or find yourself?
Rarely. Like if I want to do some research on a historical request ID, yes. But when I'm building, I write in here. I'm using these.
Right, as it pops up today, the cadence is today. So Lambda function is actually returning proper value for Jim, we're hoping. Make our logs robust enough to tell us whether or not
There's a not customer day, and that's Jane.
proper or for not the email.
Perfect.
Our loop, our data, and our email cadence now function. Drawing here, we have left to do. Built orchestration to handle the cadence and sending a message. We still need to message. This is
Cross it off the to-do. Nice.
getting things done. And you still have to configure the tenant to run essentially once a day. So this orchestration can basically be run every single day to be checking against these cadences and sending those emails out when that condition matches up. The last thing we got to do still is Flowwise agent and the actual. Or we could just.
Oh, that's good.
Well,
go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So we did build our little Slack bot that kind of does something similar. Kind of repurposed that, but I think the returning the email message. I guess the returning the email message. That's what we want it to do. We'll handle sending it probably. Or are you gonna say?
Yeah, I was just going to say that's exciting. Getting it pull Flowwise into here and start showing that off. That's cool.
Yeah. So for those who are just joining us at our flow, we're gonna repurpose. So I believe it was last week. Our Slack bot agent. Basically, what we built last week a very, very simple basically last week we built a Slack bot that send at mention bot and then some sort of text after the at mention. And our Slack bot is take that in and then query it against the Claude Sonnet 4.5 LLM, and then just return whatever Claude gives back to us. And this is kind of what that looked like on the backside. It got kind of messy when you asked something more in depth and it had to do some web searches. Then you get this big long strings of JSONs because it's done multiple different searches, found several different things. As you can see, it's finding several articles. I asked it. But if you also ask it something simple like, I just want a recipe, it's able to send a nice recipe, a quick response. Again, it got a little more complex when it does additional searches. So when it's doing that deep research, you get a very complex JSON back, and we could handle that and parse it. But that got a little bit further than I was wanting to go with it. Slackbot, but we can now repurpose the Slackbot into our little email bot. So effectively, copy what we did here, strip out the Slack stuff, and just send in information from our Orchestrate and get back whatever email it's trying to send us. You can actually specify in here message like and we'll send in customer's location for these agents can accept obviously payloads, pull in data from our customer, from our orchestrate, and be able to generate prompt, and then it should be able to, in theory, haven't done it yet, but it should be able to basically give us back an email digest based on the customer's location and based on that email cadence that we baked in. Pretty neat stuff. I think this should go a little bit quicker than our Slack bot, obviously. Subbed out application already, so we're almost at time. Todd, any final thoughts before we wrap up?
No, I want to watch the rest of this. I want to see how this one ends with the email and pulling Flowwise in. You got me hooked.
Yeah, this should be fun. Again, the AWS stuff, I will post that to this particular channel description, or not the channel description, the video description, and I'll upload it to the repository where I've been uploading. All right. Thanks, everybody. We will catch